Today we're going to be talking about our recipe that we utilize for the April Brewers Cup. The coffee that we're utilizing today is going to be Pepe Hihon, Ecuador. It's going to be a wash sidra with really nice notes of Fuji apple, lavender, and tangerine. And it's going to be a coffee that's a little bit more on the floral side, but really accentuates the sweetness with the roast that we do. To break down the recipe, we're going to be using 15 grams in for our coffee and roughly 240 grams out. But that output can kind of change and vary depending on how much more you want to extract the coffee or how much less you want to extract the coffee. So the water temperature that we're going to be utilizing today is going to be 210 Fahrenheit. The reason why we're utilizing a little bit of a higher temperature is because the grind setting that we're utilizing today is really coarse. To put into perspective, with a Comandante C40, it's around 34 clicks-ish. That's like roughly like a grind particle size of like 1200. We're gonna be doing 8 total pours for our bloom with a total bloom weight of 80 grams and a total bloom time of 50 seconds. The reason why we're doing multiple pours with the bloom is to be able to, one, slow down the water drawdown time. Since it's such a coarse grind size, you have to figure out ways to slow it down to be able to properly and fully extract the coffee. But also, we find that with the more pours that you do and the more agitation that you do during the bloom, we're able to find a little bit more sweetness that's present in the cup, but also a little bit more acidity. And the way that we can control the acidity is by, if you want more acidity, we find that lengthening the bloom time itself accentuates more acidity. And if you want to shorten that acidity, shortening that bloom time will be able to help. So yeah, we're going to divide those 8 pours into 10 gram pours, and with the interval of 2 to 3 seconds in between each pour. So we'll get right onto it. So I have my kettle, 210 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 10 grams. Another 10. And afterwards, once it hits 50 seconds, I'm just going to be doing a really slow continuous pour all the way up to 240 grams. It's important that you hit the edges, or you start off by hitting the edges, just because I feel like with the type of pour that I'm doing in the beginning, I want to make sure that I'm fully saturating all of the coffee bed. And starting with the edges helps to do that. Or you don't have to do it at all. Alright, 240 grams. And I hit that roughly around 1:30. And I'm aiming to have a drawdown time anywhere from 2 minutes all the way to, let's say, 2 minutes 10 seconds. The longest that I'll be aiming time-wise would be roughly like 220, and that would be like the max limit for that. Oh, and a key thing for all of this, we want to start by using a dry paper filter instead of pre-wetting it. The reason why is because if we pre-wet the paper filter, the coffee or like the water drawdown speed is actually a lot faster. So by utilizing a completely dry paper filter, it actually helps to slow down the drawdown time just a little bit. So just so that we can get a little bit more of a more complete extraction with the coffee. So right here we got a drawdown time of roughly 2 minutes and 15 seconds. So it's right around the mark that we're aiming for. So let's go ahead and try it. Make sure to swirl the coffee to integrate everything from the beginning of the brew to the end of the brew. And yeah, enjoy. Ooh, that is really good.
Can you describe what you're tasting?
Well, the sweetness is like very citrus-like. It's almost like that of like a really ripe tangerine. I mean, hence the tasting notes. But you also do get like kind of like a very floral aspect to it. Yeah, it's almost like that of like maybe like a oolong or jasmine tea, but also lavender is like a pretty spot on description as well. And as it cools, the acidity is kind of more representative of like a malic acidity. So it's like really, yeah, like apple, red apple like. So key takeaways, if you want to increase the sweetness of the cup, but still keep the same ratio of the coffee to water, I would highly recommend keeping the same bloom weight. Let's just say it's 60 grams or 70 grams or 80 grams and splitting that up into more pours. So let's just say, so what I did for the April Brewers Cup, I did 70 grams total for a bloom weight and aimed for 50 seconds. But to increase that sweetness of the cup, I actually split it into 4 10-gram pours, but also 6 5-gram pours. So that actually gave me a total pour of 10 pours for the bloom, but still reached 70 grams for a bloom as well as 50 seconds for the bloom time. The one key takeaway that the judges gave for feedback for the cup that I was able to brew for them was that it was definitely the sweetest amongst all the competitors. But yeah, in terms of like my experience with the April Brewers Cup, it was my first experience competing in any form or way, and it was incredibly nerve-wracking. But at the same time, I feel like I learned so much leading up to it, just because I wouldn't have been able to discover as well as practice this method if it wasn't for that. With this experience, I realized there's so many other brewing methods that other competitors utilize, and it's just up to you as the brewer to interpret how you want to sort of portray that cup of coffee to the audience. And for me, one thing that I always liked for all of my cups of coffee was sweetness. And that's why I decided to utilize a more coarse grind setting, because a coarser grind setting highlights sweetness as well as clarity, and obviously a lighter, more tea-like body. And I knew that if it was too light of a body, the judges might deduct a little bit of points. So in order to compensate for that, I actually utilized a brew ratio of 15 to 210 grams out. So it's a little bit more concentrated, but at the same time, since it's such a coarse grind setting, it wasn't too overwhelming in terms of the body. It had a good amount of body, but also a good amount of sweetness as well as clarity. But yeah, that's a little bit more about my experience with the April Brewers Cup. I do decide on hopefully competing a little bit more extensively in the future. Don't really know what that looks like, but in the meantime, hope you guys enjoy the cup of coffee that we provide for you guys, and let us know. Let us know if you have any insights or questions on what you would like to see next, and make sure to like, follow, subscribe, share it, do whatever you can. And yeah, make sure to check the website and buy